Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Social Work Thursday Talks. My name is Danya Pinnock, and I am the social worker for the Sapling unit. And today I'll be presenting alongside Lauren Capello. She's the social worker for the Willow unit. So thank you again for joining our seminars. We continue to hold these seminars every third Thursday of the month at 6:30 p.m. After this presentation, we will only have three remaining. So please join as you are able. And if you have any questions, please let your social worker know. At the end of this presentation, we will have a slide up with the incoming presentation with the dates and the topics. Okay. So for today's presentation, our topic is From Hospital to Home, a Guide to Medical and Nursing Care in a Pediatric Facility. And I know this is a very broad topic, but for today's presentation, these are the things that we will be focusing on. So understanding your child's care and the services they receive at Sunshine through parent training and education. We will also be going through therapeutic home leave opportunities and the steps towards progressive discharge planning, and also touching base on preparing you for safe transitions in the discharge planning process. And we just wanted to introduce you to our clinical education team here at Sunshine. The Director of Nursing and Clinical Education is Laura Connolly. Supervisor for Clinical Education is Crystal Foley. And the clinical educators are Leah Salinas, Elaine Mota, Margie Marcello, Marissa Giacino, and Jessica Tanis. So once you express interest in completing training to your social worker, we will then coordinate with one of the clinical educators to get your training completed. So now I'm going to go through the stages of training. And it depends on the length of training, depends on the level of comfort, the materials, the equipment, your child's care needs. So that depending on how long you'll be training just varies per family. So stage one is just getting to know you. You'll be learning about, basic bedside information, safety information, and, general overall safety information. Stage two is spending time alone. And this is if families would like to take their children off the units, walk around the campus, so you can feel confident in doing so. And stage three, independent care, is for families who will be planning for progressive discharge planning. And that's more specific about, trait changes and things of that sort, more specific needs to your child. So stage one. So the objectives for stage one includes you'll learn methods of hand washing and general hand hygiene. You'll also learn how to ask your child providers for assistance if you come on the unit. And if you're at bedside, you'll learn how to use the call bell to call for assistance if you need it. And you'll also receive just general handouts about all of this information. I just want to show you the binder. So at the beginning of the training, each family will get a family training guide. So the clinical educator will work with you to, go through like what your training needs are and just come up with a plan for your training, for your overall training. Stage two, the objectives are providing you with the tools necessary for you to feel comfortable when walking around campus. You'll learn how to identify signs of respiratory distress and what to do in that situation. You'll learn how to use a walkie-talkie so you can communicate with your nurse and your primary caregivers. You will also learn how to monitor the oxygen tank, how to monitor the pulse ox machine, and what those numbers actually mean, so you can call for assistance as needed and know what each thing means. Monitor the ventilator system, and you also learn how to safely ambulate with your child around campus if your child is a walker, and if your child is in the stroller, how to just maintain safety precautions while you are walking throughout the building. And again, you'll also receive documentation about that for your review. In stage three, the objectives are, as I stated before, these are more specific based on the specific needs of your child. That can include, caring for the G-tube site, caring for the trach site, bathing and shower needs, knowing how to make the formula and, manage the feeding pump, learning how to administer medications and learning. We will also in that stage maybe do the installation of the car seat and work with the rehab team on different positioning and things like that. So if you have any questions, of course, they will make sure you are comfortable with the information. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask your clinical educator as you are going through all stages of the training. And now Lauren will go through therapeutic home leaves and more about progressive discharge planning.
Okay, so though your child resides with us at Sunshine, we do welcome our families to explore opportunities to take their child offsite on day passes or for therapeutic home leave weekends and visits. The first step in that would be having a conversation with your child's care team. You want to, have that conversation with them because some children have certain level of care needs and may need more care, and you may need more training than other children. So you want to start with having that conversation, discussing options, and maybe it may not be a goal now, but could be a goal in the future. So we welcome having the conversation and opening it up and making it a goal to work towards, um, and just having it and knowing that it may be an option and exploring it. And so the next part of a therapeutic home leave or a day pass would be the social worker coming and doing a home assessment. So the social work team will conduct a home assessment to ensure that the home is accessible, it's safe, it's equipped for any of the medical equipment that your child may need. And I'm going to show an example of what our home assessment looks like in the next slide so you can have a better idea. I do want to just, emphasize that for the home assessments that they are for your safety, for the safety of the child. And if there is something that needs to be done, we're here to help and support that. It doesn't mean that your child can't go home or can't go on a day pass. That's why we do the assessment so we can work together on making it a safe space for the child to go home. Um, Another important thing to note for therapeutic home needs is that the parent is responsible for transportation. So you are responsible for picking your child up at Sunshine and bringing them back to Sunshine. With that, any equipment needs your child may have, uh, Sunshine does cover some of that equipment needs. So, the child's feeding and feedings, tubing pumps, um, their chairs, oxygen tanks, suction machines. There are certain equipment that Sunshine will provide for day passes and therapeutic home visits, but there are uh, larger pieces of equipment that the parents will be responsible for, and that can consist of vents, CPAP machines, BiPAP machines, any vest treatments, etc. With that being said, I think it's really important to know that some of that equipment, and from experience, most of that equipment that the parent is responsible for won't be covered by insurance. It would be an out-of-pocket cost. And that is something that we strongly encourage you to talk to your social worker about because we are here to help you find vendors and resources that can help provide that equipment in home. And also, we can help find grants and agencies that can help support that extra cost that when you want to have your child home for a therapeutic home visit or take them out for a day pass. So we don't want that to be a limitation. We're here to support and help guide the families in that process. So if you feel like that may be a limitation, please come talk to us and we can have a deeper conversation about what that can look like. So this is an example of the Sunshine Safety Assessment. I'm kind of going to go through it because it's a little small. So we would come to the home and we'll look and make sure that there's a working telephone and emergency numbers are accessible. All electrical cords and outlets appear to be in good repair in the child's areas. So any area the child may be in the living room, in the area they will be sleeping, bedroom, kitchen if they're spending time in the kitchen, anywhere they want to we want to just make sure that it's safe where any cords are. There are functioning smoke alarms and carbon monoxide monitors. There's a fire extinguisher within the home and it's available and accessible. You have access to outside exits that are free of obstruction. The house is accessible and the child can move around freely and safely. There's alternative exits and they're accessible in the case of a fire. Walking pathways are level, uncluttered, and have non-skid surfaces. Stairs are in good repair, well lit, uncluttered, and have non-skid surfaces. Handrails are present and secure. Lighting is adequate for safe ambulation and ADL care. We want to make sure that the lighting is good. You can see what you're doing. All of that to make sure that all the care that's being provided to your child is being done safe and well. Temperature and ventilation is adequate in the home. Bathroom is safe for the provision of care. So that could be a grab bar, raised toilet seat, a tub seat, non-skid surface in the tub. Kitchen is safe for the provision of care. So working appliances, hygienic area for food prep. Those examples. The child's bedroom is safe for the provision of care. So having an adequate bed, a secure changing table if needed, um, hardware on the crib, a safe place to sleep, uh, good window blinds, safe spaces where the equipment can live, just an overall environment where it's a good space for the child. Um, but that environment is safe for effective oxygen use, and like with everything, just overall environment is adequately sanitary for the provision of care. With all of that being said, we are not here to judge or come out and view the home and judge the space. We're here to just make sure that the space is safe overall for you to bring your child home to, because these things are important for you to have to make the home visit less stressful or worrisome for you also overall. And if we find things that, let's say you need a fire extinguisher, we're here to help you find one and where to get one and obtain it. And then we can come out and do another assessment. We want you guys to feel supportive. If you want to take your child home, we're here to help support that. So if there's something we find, we will help you find a solution in fixing it. The next step is after all of that is done, the equipment is established, the home assessment is completed, and we are ready, the child is ready to go on their day pass or therapeutic home weekend. We do have a request process. So step one would be to communicate 48 hours before with your social worker regarding your request. So what you would communicate is the time you want to come to Sunshine and pick up your child, the day, the time, and then the day and time that you will be bringing your child back to Sunshine. So 48 hours, we ask for 48 hours because it can take some time to get their medication together, their formula together, and we give notice to everyone, all of their caregivers, all the team that is involved in preparing everything. So we request, 48 hours before the day that you want to pick them up. Step two would be you come, you come, you pick them up. So you come pick them up and then you make sure that you are provided all of the correct medication. The equipment that Sunshine is providing is all there, it's clean, it's working, the formula is there, and all proper documentation is given to you. On the day of a therapeutic home visit, you will get a paper packet where And this will be explained to you in your education process too, but it's a packet that you sign off on when you give the medication, when you do the feedings, and it just helps track to make sure that your child is still getting everything that they need. The medications being provided, the feedings are being provided, even when they're not at Sunshine. So you want to make sure that you are provided all that correct documentation, equipment, and everything. Step three is you go enjoy your visit. Okay? You go, you have fun, and you can know that even if there's a question or a concern, you can always call Sunshine. You can always ask if you need clarification on something, on like the medication or a feeding or anything. If there's an emergency, you can always call and ask. We are still, even though the child is not physically here for that weekend or that day, we're still here as a support. And then step four would be bringing your child back and communicating if you're running late or anything has come up, if you need to extend time, just making sure that you're communicating that with the team and with the facility if there's anything else going on. So you see at the bottom, I gave an example of the chart that we fill out, and the social worker will fill this out, and then they will distribute it to the team, that to all the stakeholders that need to know that there is a therapeutic home leave request that is happening, and this is all the information. Okay. And so shifting into progressive discharge planning. So, whether your goal for your child when they came to Sunshine was to work towards discharge, or they came to Sunshine and you didn't, that conversation never occurred, but as you went through the training and then you went to therapeutic home visits and you built confidence and you were like, oh wow, maybe I can have my child at home. Sunshine is always here to support in a progressive discharge plan. So that always starts with education and training. And where Sunshine is here to help support that. And we use progressive discharge because it is a process. It can take a couple of months, it could take, maybe a year. It's a progression to make sure that it is smooth and it is supported and it is the best interest of the family and the child themselves. So, like Danya said in the beginning, that it is the best support and way that we can in a smooth transition. So, some services that may be needed for a successful discharge are definitely, private duty nursing services in the home, which the social worker, you would work with the social worker. We would be sending the referral to agencies and helping you communicate with them on getting the care and the amount of hours and all of that information to the right people on getting it approved. So then you can still have that nursing support in the home. We would then help with referrals and ensuring that all equipment is that your child may need and requires is delivered and set up before the discharge date. So I do want to note that, especially if you were doing therapeutic home visits before discharge, when you go into discharge and your child is permanently at home with you, insurance will take over covering that equipment again. So we would make sure that all that equipment is in place and set up before discharge. The social the social worker will then work with the school district and transfer all of school services so there's no lapse in your child's education services and they can continue getting their education and all the services that come with that. We would possibly do a referral for any care management services for extra support for the child and for the family. So that can look at possibly like a care management agency or OPWDD services. These are all things that once this progressive discharge planning conversation occurs, that you can have with your social worker and they can go into more detail and conversation as the planning process moves forward. And then we would also make sure that all the medication is in place and appointment follow-ups are in place. So it's one of those that's really important is making sure that a new primary care physician in your community is in place. So then there's no space or lapse in medical care for your child. So it's that's all part of that progressive discharge planning. So this happens over time. Part of that process is we also have what we call progressive discharge suites. And this offers families the opportunity to kind of stimulate an overnight experience with their child. So once education is done and once a discharge date is set, we will then offer families an opportunity to stay in one of our discharge suites, probably about a month before the set discharge date, and have a stimulation of a night and a day and a night with your child alone. And you provide all the cares, you spend time with them, you simulate what it would be like to have them home. And we do this about a month before because it gives space where if there's any, things that need to be clarified or anything about the child's cares that, you need a little bit more support in or a little bit more education on, there's enough time in between that to, a refresher on the cares. Some more education can be scheduled and done. Another overnight can be scheduled in that time. It allows that support to still be in place. It also, the stimulation of it, it allows families to, experience it, but have a little bit of a safety net still that if there is any true emergency, there's a safety net of nurses and providers just downstairs that they can still call for help. So it's something that we like to offer, and it's if you get to that part in the progressive discharge planning, you can talk to your social worker about it. Okay. So, and like I said, we are here as a support. It's a process, and if you have any questions, it's a lot of information, a lot of details that go into it, but you can always reach out to your social worker and they can provide more information on how the process and the system that Sunshine has works. But we're here to support and communicate in any ways that you guys need.
So just, following up with what Lauren said in terms of supporting our families. So we separated them into two categories, planning for discharge and post-discharge needs. So in terms of planning for discharge, we recognize that, you may experience some uncertainty and some anxiety about taking your child home. And we want to make sure from the very beginning of the progressive discharge planning, we are having those open communication and conversations about assessing any your readiness and discussing any fears that you may have, and normalizing those mixed emotions and figuring out how we can work together to plan and figure out possible solutions for all different scenarios. And then in terms of post-discharge needs, our mutual goal is to ensure that you are set up with all the resources you need to be successful after discharge takes place. And that could include, making sure you have the doctor's appointments scheduled, any follow-up appointments, educational services are in place, knowing who to call if certain things come up. And I know that no matter how much we plan, things do come up. So we want to make sure that you are equipped with the information and know what to do in those types of situations. Also, as Lauren mentioned earlier, you will get, contact information about, who to call in terms of like follow-up appointments, making sure medications are sent to the pharmacy and things and all things of like that sorts. We also make sure that, any documentation that's needed, any prescriptions that's needed. And of course, even once you leave, if there are any follow-up questions that you have, you can always reach out to us and ask any questions of your medical providers, your social workers, for us to connect you with any community resources and supports that you may need. So the overall goal is to have that open communication from the very beginning to identify all those stressors and appropriately plan on how to appropriately address them. So just wanted to highlight our schedule for the next upcoming series. So our next one is scheduled for February 19th, 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. And the title is Balancing Hope and Reality, Navigating Expectations. And again, March 19th and April 16th. So as I stated, we have 3 remaining. But of course, if you have topics, that you would like us to potentially explore, please let your social workers know and ask any questions that you may have. Again, we do encourage you to join the live session so there can be some engagement and interaction. But if you are unable to, just remember that these are recorded and your social workers will send you the links after each session. So I want to thank you. I hope these have been useful. And if you have any questions or just need general clarity on any of the information that was presented today, please call your social worker or send them an email and we'll be happy to address any questions that you have. Thank you.